In 1984, Supergirl flew onto the big screen in her first and thus far only theatrical movie. Helen Slater stars as Supergirl in this adventure that acts as a spin-off to the Christopher Reeve Superman films. Yep, a shared cinematic universe movie. 30-odd years before shared cinematic universe movies were even a thing. Where Superman's cousin Kara lives in a colony in another dimension called Argo City, which houses the survivors from the planet Krypton. After the city loses its main power source, a magical ball called the Omegahedron, Kara flees to Earth to track it down, where she gains super abilities and becomes Supergirl. The Omegahedron makes its way into the hands of a self-proclaimed witch called Selena, and uses its power to do evil deeds and to try and take over the world. Supergirl must do whatever it takes to defeat Selena and her evil magic in order to get the Omegahedron so she can save her home, in this flawed adventurous movie which co-stars Peter O'Toole and Faye Dunaway. Okay, there is no denying it. This movie has its problems, and is often considered as one of the worst superhero movies of all time. But does that mean that some good can't be salvaged from Supergirl? Well, today we are going to find out by looking into 10 things that you didn't know about the Supergirl movie. Let's check it out. Number 10, Supergirl was going to make her movie debut in Superman 3. Just like the Christopher Reeve Superman movie, Supergirl was overseen by Alexander Solkind and his son Ilya. And when they first purchased the rights to Superman in the 70s, they also got the rights to other characters related to Superman. And Ilya Solkind was keen to expand on the Superman universe and introduce Supergirl onto the big screen for the first time. In fact, Ilya had planned to introduce Supergirl in Superman 3, which came out 1 year before Supergirl in 1983. Ilya wrote a script which shows the character Brainiac fleeing from the planet Krypton before it explodes, and taking baby Kara with him, where they live in a pocket dimension. And when Kara grows up, Brainiac wants her to be his bride, but she doesn't feel the same way and flees to the planet Earth, and becomes Supergirl, where she meets Superman and starts a romance with him. Yeah, her cousin. Brainiac arrives on Earth to claim Supergirl as his own, where Superman and Supergirl fight it out with Brainiac. The story also featured the prankster Superman villain Mixie Pixelic, but Warner Brothers and DC Comics hated the script and rejected it, so that's where we ended up with the Superman 3 that we got, which still had some elements left over from the original script, like the use of evil supercomputers. I mean, I can't imagine why no one liked the original Superman 3 script. I mean, what was Superman having a relationship with his cousin after all? Ugh. Number 9, Christopher Reeve bailed from the project. The Solkinds decided to focus on Superman 3 to solely be a Superman film, with the intention to then go straight into production of a fourth movie, which would be a Superman and Supergirl film. Kind of like when they made Superman the movie and Superman 2 back-to-back. French director Genos Schwartz came on board as director. Schwartz had previously directed Jaws 2 and Somewhere in Time, which also starred Christopher Reeve. And Reeve originally was up for returning. However, after the disappointing reception of Superman 3, Reeve said that he was no longer interested in playing Superman. In the original script, the villain Selena, who is described as being a country farm girl, unlike the movie who is a witch living in an abandoned theme park, finds the Omegahedron where she becomes powerful, and when Superman confronts her, she uses it to put him in the Phantom Zone, where it's up to Supergirl to save the day and Superman. Reeves' part in the movie was then reduced to a mere cameo, where he welcomes Supergirl to Earth and the two fly around together. But nope, Reeve was sticking to his decision and not returning. Sadly, the departure of Reeve would result in huge plot holes in the story, with the movie not really making sense. Like, why does Supergirl suddenly have a supersuit when she arrives on Earth, without any explanation of how she got it? How does Supergirl's alter ego, Linda Lee, know all about Superman's alter ego, Clark Kent? And how does Selena suddenly know all about the Phantom Zone? Yeah, it's been said a few times that Reeve walking out of the movie kind of ruined Supergirl, and led to the story being an incoherent mess. Because Superman wasn't there to fill in those pieces that were going to be explained. Number 8, casting possibilities. So the big question is, who could play Supergirl? Who could be this new hero for the big screen and recapture the magic of Christopher Reeve? Several actresses were considered, like Brooke Shields and Melanie Griffith, but 19-year-old Helen Slater got the role as she blew everyone away with her audition. And she is brilliant as Supergirl and definitely one of the high points of the movie. I totally buy her as the cousin to the Reeves Superman. Demi Moore was cast as Supergirl's Earth friend Lucy Lane, the sister of Lois Lane, but Moore left the project to star in St. Elmo's Fire instead. The part was then recast with actress Maureen Teefy, who previously played one of the Pink Ladies in Grease 2. Several older actresses were considered for Selena, like Dolly Parton, Jane Fonda and Goldie Hawn. Director Schwartz really pushed for Bonnie and Clyde actress Faye Dunaway, and she accepted the role. John Travolta was in the running to play Supergirl's love interest, Ethan, but he turned the part down. So instead the role went to Hart Bochner, best known for his comical role of Harry from Die Hard. There wasn't an attempt to get any other main cast members from the Superman series to return for Supergirl, except for Mark McClure, who returns as Jimmy Olsen, who is a welcome connection between this movie and the Superman movies. As for Superman's absence, well, it's described via a radio announcement that Superman is on a peace mission in another planet. Yep, Superman on a quest for peace. That is some eerie foreshadowing right there. Number 7, original costume design. For some of her Supergirl screen tests, we see Helen Slater wearing a different Supergirl costume to the one we eventually see in the movie, where we see her Super S logo is attached to her cape and that she's wearing a red headband. This look was more faithful to how the Supergirl character looked in the comics at that time. But as the movie's production went on, this look was rejected. Supposedly, I heard somewhere that DC wasn't happy with this costume, so it was redesigned to be more like the classical look of the character from the 50s and the 60s. In order to prepare for the role, Helen Slater would have to go for a vigorous workout training and exercise routine, which would involve running, lifting weights, gymnastics, riding, and fencing. She managed to tone up and gain some muscle, and her trainer was that guy that James Bond electrocuted in the bathtub in Goldfinger. Yeah, just throwing it out there. Number 6, change of studio. The Christopher Reeve Superman movies were distributed by Warner Brothers, as is every other DC-related movie, from Tim Burton's Batman movies to Christopher Nolan's Batman movies to Watchmen and the modern wave of DC films. However, Supergirl was different. Supergirl was actually distributed by TriStar Pictures. Warner Brothers owned the distribution rights to Supergirl and were overseeing the movie's production. However, there was a clash between the studio and the Salkinds, as Warner's wanted to release Supergirl in July, but the Salkinds wanted to release the movie during a holiday season. This disagreement, and the fact that Superman 3 didn't perform as well as expected in the box office, prompted Warner Brothers to abandon distribution rights of Supergirl. So in the States it was released under TriStar Pictures, and in the UK it was released under EMI. This led to 2 different versions of the movie, the standard theatrical release and a European cut which had extra scenes. For the longest time, Supergirl's home media releases were done so by Anchor Bay. However, finally in 2006, to coincide with the release of Superman Returns, Supergirl was finally given an official Warner Brothers DVD release, which featured the Superman Returns Super S logo on the cover, which I always thought was weird. Like the DVD was saying, hey guys, you know that Superman Returns movie that's out that you all want to go and see? Yeah, look, buy this DVD. Eventually, after a while, the cover was changed to the more traditional S. Number 5, filming locations. Apart from a few aerial shots of New York and Chicago, most of Supergirl was shot in the UK, with Pinewood Studios being used to build sets for the movie. Pinewood is also the same studio where the Christopher Reeve Superman movies were filmed, so it seemed fitting. The small country town where some of the action takes place was in fact a set built on the Pinewood backlot. This blew my mind when I found that out, as I always thought this looked like a real town. It looks authentic and lived in, and has a large scope and scale. Heck, the prop town even has its own prop Popeye's chicken. A lot of the outdoor footage, like the scenes by the lake, and that remote place where Supergirl takes Ethan to, were actually filmed in Scotland. Yeah, no doubt making Supergirl the first superhero movie to be filmed in Scotland. Or at least I think it is anyway. So, Superman 3 had Kentucky Fried Chicken product placement, and Supergirl has Popeye's chicken product placement. What is up with this film series and its obsession with fried chicken? Number 4, the music of Supergirl. When it came to scoring Supergirl, the musical duties were given to the legendary Jerry Goldsmith, and wow! What a score he provides. The irony of this being that Goldsmith was originally approached to score Superman the movie, but was unavailable. And say what you want to say about the Supergirl movie, the score he provides is nothing short of sensational. And just like Helen Slater's performance, it's a highlight of the movie. The score he provides sounds more romantic and whimsical than John Williams' Superman theme, and has more of a sense of mystical fantasy and adventure. And it's just exploding with heart and passion. This was at a time when Goldsmith was at the top of his game, having just scored movies like Poltergeist and First Blood. And also the very same year as Supergirl, he scored Gremlins. However, I guess his Supergirl theme wasn't ready by the time marketing had started, as Supergirl's trailer interestingly featured John Williams' Superman score. But that aside, Supergirl is one of my favourite Jerry Goldsmith scores. Number 3, comic book adaptation. So just like with Superman 3, 1 year prior, Supergirl also got its own comic book adaptation. And wow, what an interesting piece of interestingness this comic really is. I mean, yeah, what could be said? It's a comic book adaptation of the Supergirl movie. Does exactly what it says on the label. Retell the movie in comic book format. And the comic looks decent enough. It does recreate scenes from the movie nicely, and the characters' likenesses are pretty spot on. However, there's one interesting plot point in the comic that wasn't in the movie, and that is the Selena character being controlled by a demon that looks like her with a skull face. In the movie, Selena summons up a